Hi guys, PJ here again. Today we are taking a final look at Destiny 2. Yes, I've not been quick off the ball with this one, and the reason being I simply wanted to complete the campaign and get a good look at the game rather than rushing into a quick review and a quick look at everything else. I wanted to make absolutely sure of what I was on about. Okay, so I'm going to try and cover the PC version, the Xbox version, the PS4 version. Which one is the definitive best? Now, it's not as clear cut as you may well think. Obviously, we got all the the PC guys going, oh, wait for that. We're going to have 60 frames per second. We're going to have 4K and all the rest of it. True, if you've got a high enough system to actually do that. Yeah, does scale well, but we'll see. You also have to deal with all the cheaters, which I'm sure Bungie say they're keeping on top of, but will they really? Glitches, bugs. It does look a very well refined PC game, so we won't know until it's fully out in the wild. But cheaters and stuff like that, hackers, it's definitely going to be a problem. You've also got the other problem of whether you can play mouse, keyboard or control pad. If you're a control pad PC player and you're going in PvP, you're going to be competing against people on mouse, keyboard. Okay, so that's the PC bit. Consoles. Which one? Literally, which one? You may think, well, that's easy. It's PlayStation version. Well, PlayStation version, exclusive content. Yep, we all know about the PvP map, the extra strike, the weapons, etc, etc. Brilliant. Okay, it was pretty much paid for by Sony, all the advertising and everything. They've got all the exclusive marketing rights and everything. And so be it. They did with number one. Okay, so you do get extra content. Now, the PS4 version, 1080p. Runs at 30 frames a second, very smooth, very nice to play. Does slow down a bit when you get on the public events, when they get very, very busy. I've noticed the game slows down a little bit on there. But hey ho, you can always use the PS4 Pro upgrade. PS4 Pro is 4K checkerboarded, and as such, non-HDR, none of them are yet. They are releasing a patch for that later on. Doesn't slow down in the slightest. I've put a lot of time into the PS4 Pro version, and it looks fantastic. You don't notice any of the jaggy edges. You get some aliasing on the normal PS4 version. You do notice them very carefully, but you've got to really look at it. It looks beautiful, very crisp, and it's got upgraded shadows and texture maps and everything. You can tell, okay? But side by side, when you're playing the game, yeah, it's just Destiny 2, okay? So there's that. Xbox version. Okay. Now, you could automatically dismiss it as probably being the lowest tier of the game. Well, I've played a lot of the Xbox version on an Xbox One S. Same as the PlayStation, it does drop. The frame rate drops like a brick when you're doing public events that are going massive. So it sort of reminded me of The Division in the Power Room, if you've ever played that game. In the actual power facility, everything slowed down to a crawl, and it actually stopped me playing that version. I got so sick of it. But anyway, let's not hover on that. That particular version is 1340 by 1080, so it's not a full 1080p package. It's not 1920 by 1080 like the PlayStation 4 version. It is a lower resolution. Playing the game, yes, I personally could tell straight away. It does have the jaggy edges, the blur in the pixel crawl, etc. However, playing the game, it plays very well. I've played a lot of the Xbox version, just like I played a lot of the PlayStation version. At this current moment in time, I'm actually higher on the Xbox version. Hey ho. Now, you could argue and say, well, the Xbox One X is coming out in a few weeks' time. That's going to be the top superior version. Probably not. Xbox has got something going for it, and that's the built-in LFG system. You can do looking for group on a system level, and that will no doubt help with the more difficult raids. Obviously, you have to get to know people a bit, because obviously the game supports the hand holding, but only at the lower levels, not at the really top end. So the LFG system on the Xbox there is going to come onto its own. Unfortunately, PlayStation do not have that, and that is a shame. You have to go to external sites for your extra players if you want to do the raid on the highest setting, etc. So Xbox One X, well, I don't actually think it's going to offer anything more than the PlayStation Pro. Think about it. Not because of the hardware. We all know it's more powerful hardware. That's not a problem. It's because the marketing and everything was paid for by Sony. Yeah? Now, in Destiny 1, Xbox One and PS4, they're pretty much the same game. So Destiny 2 on the Scorpio, or Xbox One X as it is now, it's going to be the same as the Pro. It probably might have a better 4K. Yeah, so it's not going to be checkerboarded, or it might be checkerboarded but to a lesser degree. whether or not the human eye can see the difference, you know, even on a big 60-inch TV, I don't know. It's going to be hard to say. I mean, you're going to be really nitpicking to notice any difference. I do really believe that. You know, I mean, when I play two different versions of the game, PS4 Pro and Xbox One S version of the game, to be honest, I notice a bit of pixel crawl when I'm playing it, but it's just getting on with playing the game. So I wouldn't hold your breath for a fantastic Xbox One X version. That is what I'm saying. Okay? It's going to play nice. It's going to look nice. It's going to look like the PS4 Pro version. Simple as that. But technically, it will be better. Whether or not you can see it, I don't know. So anyway, let's move on. Let's start looking at the individual versions. I'll start with PC. Okay, and here we have PC ultra wide footage. Now, it depends how you're going to want to play it on PC, because if you're going to go 4K using the 4K TV route, personally, I mean, I'd want to probably use a controller. I don't know, you know, monitor, keyboard, mouse, depends on your preference. But anyway, this was ultra wide, and with this version, I actually see more usability, if you like. You're getting a nice wider area. It looks impressive. Obviously set to ultra like this, all the effects are nice. 60 frames per second is a given. It's not a hard game to run, let's face it. If you've got the hardware, 60 frames per second on an ultra wide display, gorgeous. Yeah, you're going to be close up with it. The only thing we've got to contend with as PC players, because I myself am primarily a PC player on most games, is the hackers, the cheaters. You know, now hopefully, you know, they're not going to ruin it for everybody. Time will tell. As for the definitive version, maybe it looks the definitive version on an ultra wide, but whether or not the game is the actual gameplay because of the cheaters, etc., I don't know. We will have to wait and see how Bungie handles the whole issue of hacking and cheating. Now, if you're not going to run it on an ultra wide display and you're thinking, yeah, I've got a 4K monitor, fair enough. We'll have a quick look at some 4K footage, the Nvidia footage, which was ultra settings. We'll go on to that now. And there we go. Here's your 4K footage. Again, yes, you can tell the detail. If you stood this by the side of, say, the Xbox One S version or the PS4 version, yes, you're going to see an improvement. You know, lighting, shadows, textures, everything is enhanced. 60 frames per second, nice, silky smooth. Obviously, to run 4K Ultra 60 frames per second, you are going to need a pretty good system. This was demoed on, I believe it was a 1080 Ti, so it's a very expensive graphics card. You're going to need an i5 or an i7 to run it, let's face it, otherwise you're going to be bottlenecking your GPU. Very nice though, very nice looking game. Whether or not you think it's worth that or going for a lower res with keeping the high effects, I don't know. My personal preference won't be to run it like this. No, I would be tempted to run it on the ultra-wide display with all the effects increased, but at a lower resolution. That could help people with, you know, lower-end GPUs and stuff, and also you get the extra, you know, screen space, which is something I personally like. If you're on a monitor, you're more than likely going to be using mouse keyboard. Obviously, if you're going to run it on your 4K TV, probably going to use a controller. Most people probably would. So this is the option I would go for. Well, shall we move on to consoles now and have a quick look at, you know, all what they're displaying and what they're doing? Okay, onward we go. And now on to the Xbox One version. This being run on a Xbox One S. As you can see, reflections are really nice. Graphics, you know, the same. They use all the same models, etc. There's no extra things added, like, you know, some games you can enhance the terrain detail, etc. None of that. It's the same across the board. The resolution is lower, like I was saying, so on diagonal edges and stuff you can see your pixel crawl, you can see your step ladders going up and down, but it does play nice, you know, no problem there. It's a great game to play. I've been playing it on there, and the LFG system will come into its own. So game quality, yes, it's a lower quality than the others, the PC and the PS4 Pro and the PS4, but that one feature of having LFG built in might be the saviour for some people. In Destiny 1, a lot of people did not play the raids because they just simply could not get enough people together. And Joe Bloggs does not want to go out and use LFG websites to find other players. He just wants to be able to click in-game or on the actual Xbox or console itself and get the extra players to play with. This is a big issue. I think the LFG built into Xbox is very underrated. People don't take it into account. If you're a PlayStation player, you know, you probably just brush it aside thinking it's no big deal. Well, to the average Joe Bloggs, it most certainly is a big deal. I know people that are not casual gamers, they do like a good game of Destiny or COD, etc., but they would use that feature. And if it's not there, they can't. So although the game technically is the lowest standard, the built-in features of the system will help it out no end at all. And also, of course, you've got the nice controller options. You know, you can use an Elite, you can use a normal one, just like you could on PC. And with PlayStation, you've got just the DS4. Hey ho. So, I'll leave you with a little bit more footage of this running, so you can watch a little bit more gameplay on this one. This is a particular strike, and actually my first ever time of doing any strike on Destiny 2, so it's my first ever strike. I hadn't got a clue where I was going, what I was doing. Quite hilarious, to be honest with you. These two had obviously done it before that I matchmaked with, and it showed, because I really hadn't got a clue what I was doing. So I'll leave you with some footage, a few minutes, before we switch over to PlayStation 4.
Congestion has cleared. Diagnostics report suggests I have returned to a normal rate of function.
You should be. We've wiped your engineering deck clean.
Good work, guys. Okay, I've got Zavala mobilizing other teams to secure the ship behind you. There's gotta be some way I can pawn off this paperwork. Maybe Hawthorne will do me a solid.
And here we have the PlayStation 4 Pro version. Now, for me, watching it on such a high definition monitor or a 4K TV, I can immediately see the crispness, the difference, compared especially to the Xbox One S version. Now, obviously, it's not quite as exaggerated on the PS4, the non-Pro version, but on a 1080p display, you do get less pixel crawl, and fine details are obviously clearer because it's, you know, pixel for pixel resolution. This is using a checkerboard 4K, like I was saying. I believe it's coming from an 1800p buffer, but you know, like I say, this new reconstruction technology is very good, and on my TV I can't see any pixel crawl whatsoever. It looks like a genuine 4K. Okay. Now the PlayStation 4 Pro records in 1080p. This is using the share function. Okay, that's where this video is from. So obviously you're not getting it at its native source. Now you'd need a 4K capture card for that, and that is something I do not possess, sadly. So this is running at 1080p on YouTube, and obviously you've got YouTube compression to, you know, put into that as well, which is a shame. But like I say, it's very, very crisp. So with the Pro version, you have got all your extra PlayStation content. You know, the strike, the PvP map, the extra weapons, bits and bobs. If you're a UK person and you're on Virgin Media, you've also got the limited edition Sparrow, which you can redeem. On the first day that did not work, so if you've had trouble with it, go back on and try and redeem it again. It's the nice red Sparrow. Okay, collect that in game. So this version of the game, you could very well argue this is the definitive version, because although it's 30 frames per second, just like any other console version, you're getting all the extra content, you're getting a checkerboard 4K resolution. It looks very nice. The only thing I will say about the PlayStation version, for some weird reason, and it's not the way I've got them calibrated, because they're all calibrated correctly and the same, the Xbox version looks brighter. The colours look brighter. Don't know why. Xbox One S, colours look brighter. Normal Xbox, they don't look brighter. They look duller. Very strange. Tried it on a launch one, and it didn't look bright. The S though looks really bright, even brighter than this version. When they implement HDR, we'll have to see how that goes. But this could easily be argued as the definitive version. I will say this though, for some PS4 Pro users it is not without its problems. Now I've personally not suffered any of this because my PS4 Pro, well basically it's a brand new one. If you've got a launch system, or even some of the new white bundles we've had this happen, you can get crashes in game. It literally makes the game unplayable. It will crash back to desktop or lock up your PlayStation completely. Now, it doesn't seem to matter if it's on an external drive or from the internal drive, only on PS4 Pro. So there's obviously some bug or issues somewhere. I know somebody that sent their PlayStation back to Sony because of it, thinking it's a hardware fault. Bottom line, if your PlayStation 4 Pro crashes on this game, go on the store, download the Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider demo, and play it up to where you climb up the ice mountain using the ice picks. If your PlayStation crashes at that point, then you may well be sending it back to Sony, because it will also crash on Diablo 3 as well. Certain games seem to be picking up on some sort of issue, and we believe it's thermal related, so sort of a cooling heating issue. The later ones, the later revised serial numbers on PlayStation 4 Pro, most of them don't seem to have this problem. Like I say, I've played for hours on PlayStation 4 Pro and never had a single problem, but somebody I know, half an hour, 8 crashes. There you go. Okay, so I think we've sort of established that there isn't a true final definitive version. Xbox has got its LFG system built into the system. PS4 Pro's got all the extra content and a checkerboard 4K. And PC's got 60 frames per second and the option for either ultra-wide or 4K, depending on what your system will run and depending what hardware you've got. How deep your pockets are, in other words. You still haven't got the extra content though. So, I don't know. PC players, you've got a lot, but you haven't got it all. No one has, let's face it. As for the game itself, what do I think to it? It's had good reviews. It's done very well on the reviews. Destiny 1, was criticised big time for its story. Yeah. Now, I totally agree with that. The stranger turns up, you haven't got a clue who she is, where she's from, you don't know what's happening from one day to the next with the story. It was all over the place. This story is a lot more solid. Yeah, we've got Gaul, the bad guy. I actually feel for him. I quite like him as a character, but still. You've got, what's happening with the Traveller. Now, bit spoilery, but, at the very end there, where they get the tower back, well, not the tower, a tower back, they get themselves back on their feet. It was a good little story to get to that stage and how they did it. I really thought it gelled together very, very well. Okay, it was certainly Bungie at their best. It's what they're known for. They've done a really good package of a game. Graphics. While I think the graphics are very, very good, especially in light when it's raining and stuff like that, some levels look a lot better than others, and it's still based very much on the original Destiny graphics, which is hard to get away from because it is a sequel. So a lot of people saying, yeah, it's a DLC, it's Destiny 1.5. Well, how could they have made it any different is my question. It's got to be based on Destiny still, in the Destiny world. and it is. The story is based on, you know, what happens after Destiny 1. So I think the story's nailed. I think the graphics are on ball. You know, they look really nice. Now they've added another platform with PC, so the choice is there for everybody. They've nobbled back criticism that Destiny 1 didn't come out on PC. Sound is out of this world. I mean, if you've actually sat and listened to some of the musical overtures, they are fantastic. It does cover 5.1. I've tried it, although to be fair, I prefer using a headset for it. It seems much more an experience on a headset. That's personal preference, of course. Works on stereo as well, so no problems there. Overall, I'm a big Destiny fan. I played the Destiny 1 alpha, the beta, then the game, day one player, all the way through to the end. Yeah, I'm going to, you know, give this a very high rating. This is sort of a 9 out of 10 game for me. If you like FPSs and you like the Destiny universe, you're not going to score it any lower. The only reason I've gone a little bit lower, it's not got a 10 out of 10, is because I've still got a gripe with the whole matchmaking thing. I know they're saying you need friends to do the raids, etc., but I don't know. If you've got that many friends and you all want to play Destiny, it's easy. But if you haven't, a lot of players are still going to miss out, initially on Xbox, of course, with the LFG. So I really feel they should have gone the whole hog and put matchmaking in. If they'd have done that for the whole game, 10 out of 10 game, you know, game of the year possibly, maybe so, you know. I was certainly enjoying it more than Destiny 1. When I first started out in it, I was like, ooh, am I going to like this, you know, but as the story's progressed and you unlock IO and get going with the story quite a bit, and the really weird AI computer that is on that broken spaceship, God, that's weird. Whoever thought that one, it was hilarious. So yeah, very high scoring game. If you've got any thoughts or comments on this video, or you don't agree with me at all, please pop them below. You know, I try and answer all my comments and give it some thought, sort of thing. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye for now.